For anyone observing this meeting, either live or via WebEx, this is a meeting of the Climate Justice Working Group. This is not a public hearing or forum. We will not be taking testimony or questions from this public meeting, from the public during this meeting. Only Climate Justice Working Group members are permitted to discuss, deliberate, and or vote on any topics that come up. If you are attending, we ask that you remain respectful of these proceedings and refrain from raising your hand or attempting to draw attention or interjecting at any point. At the close of proceedings, if you are attending from a public location and you are not a member of the Climate Justice Working Group, we just ask that you exit the area. Additionally, to reduce noise, the meeting rooms will be muted. Please raise your hand and we will unmute your room. Since this meeting is broadcast through WebEx, please state your name before speaking for transcription purposes, and please try to be on camera. Next slide. So now we're going to go through the agenda. So unfortunately, we will not have quorum with folks in a physical location. So we will not, so while we will do the roll call, we will not be able to vote on the minutes. Following that, we can briefly have an update on the bylaws, but because we will not be making quorum, we will not be able to deliberate or have discussion on the bylaws. We will then talk about the review of the criteria, review of our future meetings, and what our next steps will be in this process. So I will start with a roll call, starting with Climate Justice Working Group members that are in physical locations. We'll start with myself, Alana Cadell-Tucky. Joining me is Michael DeRemio. Actually, you know what, Michael, if you would like to introduce yourself to folks, since you are new. I was going to wait till the end, but I messed that up, so.
Okay. Yeah, hello, everybody. My name is Michael DeRemio. I'm the Assistant Director for Energy and Climate Equity here at NYSERDA. It's good to be with you all here in this group. I've been, on the periphery, but happy to be stepping into Chris Cole's shoes as transition now over to DPS in a similar capacity, so look forward to working with him in there, but representing NYSERDA here in this working group. I've been at NYSERDA for a few years now, and been working very closely with our across our portfolio to create collaboration with frontline community groups and more equitable programs. And I could say more, but I'm happy to say hello and meet everybody here on the working group.
Thank you. Neil?
Hi, Neil Muscatello, DOH.
And now we'll move to working group members in physical locations. Abby, I see you're here.
Yes, here. Glad to be with you all today.
And I don't believe there are any other members who are outside of physical locations at this time. So we will go to folks who are online. I see Elizabeth Jean-Pierre. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, buenos dias, Elizabeth Jean-Pierre, Uprose in Sunset Park, Brooklyn. She, her. Happy to be here.
Elizabeth Firth.
Hi, all. Elizabeth Firth, Department of Labor. Sorry, I'm not there.
And Eddie.
Hey, all, Eddie Bautista, New York City Environmental Justice Alliance. I'm going to keep camera off because I'm in a place with bad internet, but happy to be here.
No worries. Thank you, Eddie. And I know Rawa is going to be participating virtually, so we'll wait for her to jump on. But with that, as I stated, unfortunately without a quorum, we will not be able to vote on our minutes or vote on the bylaws, but we can still discuss the changes that were made to the bylaws, though we will not be able to deliberate and then continue with the rest of our agenda. So moving forward, we will skip minutes. If we could push forward to slide 7. All right, bylaws. So, there we go. So at our last meeting, we had a discussion of additional bylaws for governing Climate Justice Working Group procedures, and how we're going to move forward with meetings, appointments, and terms. So this included a discussion surrounding the first draft of the bylaws, Following that conversation, technical staff made revisions based on feedback, and you were all sent an updated draft of the bylaws to review in anticipation of this meeting. So as a reminder, the purpose of the bylaws is really just to codify rules and procedures that will sort of govern the climate justice working group. Of note, the proposed bylaws include a 3-year term with the option of a subsequent term, and that indicates that the representatives may resign at any time. It outlines officers and legal counsel responsibilities, powers and duties, meeting procedures, and provisions related to the treatment of confidential information, conflicts of interest, and gifts. The bylaws also incorporate provisions of the resolution regarding virtual participation in meetings that passed on October 20th of 2022. And it also addresses a recent amendment to open meetings law that allows any members with a disability that are unable to attend meetings in person to count towards a quorum, provided confirmation of the disability is provided. So since the last meeting, technical staff made a few changes to incorporate your feedback and a couple of other minor edits, and those include incorporating an attendance requirement and an alternate member to address any quorum issues, removing the term chair from the bylaws. Instead, we're just going to call out DEC's Director of Environmental Justice, as having certain responsibilities such as running meetings and just being on point, the point person for coordination. We're also going to provide an explanation for the process for candidacy, revise the definition for what is a quorum so it matches the existing law, and also we added language regarding the confidentiality to cover other potential confidential information that the working group might receive. So unfortunately, like I said, we can't really have a discussion necessarily on the bylaws at this time because we don't have quorum. So we'll look to sort of push this to our next meeting, and which will most likely be end of September, early October, where we can.
Hey, Alana, sorry to
Yes.
interrupt.
Sure.
This is Jill and Raybrook. We are having some technical difficulties, but I don't know if that changes whether or not we have quorum.
No, unfortunately it doesn't, but it's good to hear you. But we can so we'll be able to have a full discussion on the bylaws and then vote on those moving forward in probably, like I said, late September, early October. That being said, if you have any questions, concerns with the current iteration, you can always email me. And we can definitely see if there are things that we can add or discuss that way. Any questions or comments on that aspect?
Alana, just to add in, if you have any questions on the edits that were made to the bylaws, we're happy to answer them right now, but unfortunately you won't be able to deliberate because there's no quorum.
Yeah. So we can move forward to the annual review. So as we stated before, sorry, next slide. So as we stated in the last meeting, this is just sort of a review to what we stated before. We are going to review the criteria annually as we move forward. We're going to, again, assess data availability. So the technical team is going to review all existing data, indicator data, and the sources for a full list of consideration. Somebody say something? Okay. So we're going to be looking for updates to existing data sets, such as the census data and looking at availability of new data. And also, considering any potential, substantive ideas that come from residents that are outside of the Climate Justice Working Group. So if any of you have any suggestions on, how we go about soliciting community member data and, data from experts to be part of the annual review process, we are absolutely open to adding that to our process. Like I said, this is new for all of us. So how this is going to look might vary for a couple of years in a row until we actually get it right. So following that assessment, we'll share our findings with the working group, and we'll provide you with our recommendations for any potential changes, the indicators or the methodology. That includes adding data sets on diabetes like we discussed. And our assessment may include a summary of the input we've heard from other residents throughout the year. After that, we'll convene the working group for deliberation on those recommendations, as well as any other recommendations that other members want to raise. And if there's a proposed change, then we would vote on that change. We'll be assessing the data with an eye towards the DAC provisions and how they've been implemented, and considerations will, the impact may take a few years to actually measure out and understand, and the changes to the criteria will require really a very significant administrative lift to inform all the agencies and get them to adopt the changes and ensure that we have like the tracking mechanisms in place and we can report out on the data, especially with regards to any investments that can be made over like multiple fiscal years. So all of that's going to factor into our recommendations. So again, does anybody have any questions? Is there, they want to highlight at this time? Eddie, you have your hand up?
Alana, yep, I see Eddie's hand is up.
Hey folks, quick question. Whenever we get to the point where we're starting to revisit or review, will you all keep track? Because I remember, and unfortunately, since this played out over a couple of years, I don't remember all the instances, but I do recall a variety of times when, we, as the working group, came up with data sets that we wanted to incorporate into the criteria, only to find that the information was either not being collected or still needed to be updated. Have you all kept track of all those data sets? So when we do have the review, rather than kind of have to remember by memory or do some digging through our notes, it would be helpful to know, these were the half dozen data sets that we intended to include once we collect the data. And my long-winded way of asking, have you all kept track of which data sets were missing the first go around?
Yes, we've been keeping track of all of the data sets and all of the suggestions that have come up. We have a pretty substantial record. So, and Alex especially has been making sure to keep track and keep check on that. And our folks at Illum have done a really good job of double checking and triple checking. Abby?
Just appreciate this and how you're thinking ahead about what's to come. I would just ask, when the time does come, I guess maybe I should ask, what is the plan for sharing information with us before the actual public meeting? Because I know, this is probably going to be a lot when the time comes and will require some processing and thinking. So kind of what's the intention there?
Tyler, did you want to?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I can jump in. So we'll be working with Illum to develop a technical packet to send to all working group members. We plan to have a meeting to orient everyone to that technical packet, to describe what's in it, and then to let that technical packet sit with folks for a few months and have a follow-up discussion on any questions, changes, or really any information regarding that technical packet. So we see it as being a few months process to kind of absorb and deliberate on that information.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Adriana, did you have a question you wanted to ask?
Maybe just to ask the working group members themselves, once the state puts together this packet and an update on the data and our recommendations on the criteria during the annual review, like how much time do you want with that packet before we schedule us to come back together and potentially vote on any changes?
And I would assume it would depend on exactly how much is in the packet, obviously.
I would just say this, Abby, hard to say. So Elizabeth, I think you have something, maybe you have concrete thoughts. I do not.
Well, Eddie also had his hand up before me. I don't know if he wants to go first.
No, I'll hold off.
So it does depend on the amount of information, but it also depends on the timing. And so, for example, if the information comes to us around Thanksgiving, around Christmas, around the holidays, it makes it a little more difficult because CJ organizations have limited capacity. So I just maybe it's possible to give it to us in different phases to make it possible for us to process it and then get on to the next phase and then get on to instead of giving it to us all at once.
That makes sense. Okay, so that's definitely something that we can look at to see how we can sort of phase that in, so we're not just, dumping potentially hundreds of pages, on you in, September and saying, okay, well, we're gonna have a meeting in November, so you all need to be ready. So we'll definitely make sure that we're, sort of phasing it in and trying to find a way to make this as convenient for working group members as we possibly can.
I gotta mention too that when we're providing the information, then we'll also walk through like what's in there and what it means and how to interpret it as well, so that people aren't, you're not just left to sort through all this stuff, right, Tyler?
Yes.
Yeah.
We definitely will have at least 2 meetings, is what we currently plan for to kind of walk through it.
Eddie's hands up.
Yeah, no, I'll just throw out a month just because it's what happens when you're on vacation. You just throw out random time frames. I wanted to ask. I thought I heard, and I'm sorry, it's part of my connection here, but what are we going to be including as part of our review process? How state agencies are meeting the 35 to 40%, both federal and state. If you guys already said that that's part of what we'll be reviewing, fine. If not, I just want to make a pitch for that to be part of the review.
I think that is something that we'll be taking under, consideration when we're making recommendations, is exactly, what this looks like, exactly how it's working, with each agency. And if it needs to be more explicit, since you're insinuating that you think it should be more explicit, we can definitely try to make it more explicit. It is going to depend largely on, other agencies and how they're reporting out to us. So, if we know, we have an idea of when we're going to have the packet to you, we can actually create a lead time for which, we're asking other agencies to preliminarily report data to us, and to see if they have it. So all this is actually really helpful because it helps us with our backtracking. And for example, if we wanted to have the packet to you by July of 2024, exactly what we need to start asking for in advance of that. But unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to have a vote every year on March 27th. I don't know if that's going to work out. But yeah, I think that we'll try to keep some of that so that you guys do have an idea of what it is. I don't know if it's going to be sort of directly combined with everything, but it's definitely something that will have that's be under consideration. And it's, like I said, it's going to depend on, what other agencies have to report. Does anybody else have any questions? Eddie, your hand is...
This is Abby.
Hi,
just to look back briefly on what Elizabeth mentioned about timing, just to make it explicit, if you could avoid anytime around Earth Day and anytime around Climate Week, that would be much appreciated.
We can definitely we can put those on X dates. We'll also X out any holidays, as Elizabeth pointed out, and try to, avoid, I know that folks have a lot going on in October towards the end, so we'll try to avoid those dates as well. We don't want to throw things at you when you don't have time to look at them. Okay. We move on to future meetings. Yep. So as we've discussed in the past, we are, in addition to the review, the Climate Justice Working Group has a number of consultation roles. under the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, one that will have to actually participate in the late September, early October, which is what I mentioned earlier. So just a quick reminder that the working group has a consultation role for DEC with regarding the implementation of regulations on section 7.3 specifically, consultation on air toxics emissions and reduction strategy by June 2024 or before June 1st, hi Amy, 2024, and also consultation on the clean energy and energy efficiency investments. The working group also has an additional statutorily mandated role under S 8431A to consult with DEC on the study on the impacts of urban heat islands on disadvantaged communities. That is the meeting that I referred to, the consultation I referred to, where we might also then be able to take up bylaws end of September, early October. I'm going to send around a poll for scheduling for this meeting so we can find the best time, the time that suits everybody. And I will absolutely make sure that there are materials for you to review. This meeting will involve, I think, a pretty detailed presentation from our team members in the Office of Climate Change, so that you can be aware of exactly, you know, what they've been working on, what this study looks like, and have an opportunity to sort of ask questions and deliberate on the study and on the work that they've done. Does anybody have any questions?
I see Eddie has his hand raised.
Vacation. I got nothing but questions, but here's something that I've been noodling on, and I don't know if this is something that requires you know, kind of further legal research or not, but it dawned on me that, you know, DEC and NYSERDA are members of the Climate Justice Working Group. And if the Climate Justice Working Group is supposed to opine on regulations that those two agencies are putting forward, it feels a little weird for you guys to also vote on whether or not your regulations it should be supported by the I guess two questions. One is, what exactly is the nature of the feedback that you guys expect or hope, or we're statutorily committed to give you all on the regs? And then secondly, what is the conflict of interest potential of agencies in this working group voting on the very regulations they're asking the rest of us to opine on?
So there wouldn't be a vote. It's really more of an advisory capacity. You'd be providing feedback on the regulations as they stand, sort of a similar fashion to the way that we seek, you know, comments from the public. It's so there really wouldn't be any voting. With, again, mostly more advisory. If you would like for, you know, NYSERDA and other agencies to kind of, you know, take a little bit of a step back and allow you to sort of have your say on that, that is definitely something that we can do. We don't want to make anybody comfortable, but the goal is just to get the Climate Justice Working Group's feedback on those regulations, you know, as per the, you know, CLCPA, rather than vote on whether or not, you know, we're going to be moving forward, if that makes sense.
Maybe one thing to just add on to that, Eddie and others for your consideration, is what we could do is bring in the technical teams that are working on the regs, which is outside of, you know, the portfolio from the staff that's here today. We can bring them in, have them present on what they have proposed, and then, as Alana said, sort of take a step back. Our like Alana and Michael, who actually are members, sort of take a step back and not an active role in that discussion.
Does that work? Rawa, you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. Just kind of piggybacking off of what Eddie was asking, is that I have two questions. One is, before we come to the meeting, would it be possible for us to take a look at the documentation and or data that is put together in advance of the meeting, so that we can really kind of come in having some both background information, possible, concerns and or feedback would be really helpful. I think too, I guess we have some, I mean, I personally have some concerns of just having an advisory sort of role. Sounds great and appreciate it. However, what if something is just like so against, EJ principles in particular around implementation of CLCPA? What happens in that situation if we're really just too far apart to even kind of come to a compromise?
Lisa, are you on? I don't know how to really answer that question.
I am. We could give it some thought as to, what kind of process we can have in that. It is a consultation or an advisory role, like you said. So it is to provide feedback, and we obviously would really appreciate any feedback you can give. But we can take that back and talk a little more about what process we may have if there does come a time where there is sort of an impasse and there's complete disagreement, and how to make sure that's noted.
Maybe Lisa, is there a requirement that in these advisory capacities that the working group has any sort of consensus? I mean, is it possible for us to take down if there's not one opinion, right? One consensus opinion of the working group, but rather we can sort of take back maybe if there were differing opinions on the various policies or regs that they're advising on?
I think that could certainly happen. I think that we sort of did that for the draft scoping plan, when the Climate Justice Working Group provided feedback for that. There was, some different opinions, and you provided them, I think, in a very good way to the Climate Action Council on that.
Elizabeth?
Yeah, as I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking that, the problem with these advisory groups is almost always that the number of people that actually do environmental justice or climate justice work is very limited, and that I think that there has to be a way of leveling the playing field and making sure that there's weighted voting, and that those of us who are actually doing this work locally and come from these communities, that the say coming from us or the input that is coming from us can't be the same as coming from, say, someone who's in academia or who is in another discipline. And so there's always been concerns about that. That's something that is a problem with the FACAs too, at the federal level. I think that when we raise concerns about conflicts, I think the immediate response has to be something that is based on whether a regulatory framework prevents the recommendation from moving forward, but some real significant responses about why what is being recommended is not tenable. And I think that that's something that would have to be done right away, so that then we could think about what the alternatives to those things would be. In terms of processing, I would just consider that would be tremendously important in us being able to provide recommendations that are tenable.
Yep, thank you, Elizabeth. That's very helpful. We can definitely look into that. Moving forward, so we can definitely make sure that folks have information on the Heat Island study before we have our meeting, so people are coming into this with sort of an idea and a background on it before, hearing the presentation, so you guys can have questions prepared and you're not just kind of coming into it blind. All right, so I will send around that poll to make sure that everybody, make sure we have the best time, most people around. Before we move to the next slide, I want to recognize Amy Klein is here. Hi, Amy.
Hi, I'm so embarrassed.
That's
I went to
okay.
the wrong agency.
Uh,
I had Ag and Markets on my mind and too many agencies I'm working with.
Well, I actually have to reach out to Aggie Markets, so I have them on my mind as well. So it's okay. Next slide, please. So as I said, next steps, since we were unable to make quorum today, we'll look to voting on the bylaws in the future. So possibly at the meeting in looking for early October to have a conversation with our team members at DEC and our Office of Climate Change on the Urban Heat Island study. Make sure that everybody has copies of that, at least some preliminary information, so folks can, prepare questions and comments. And I'll send around a poll to find the best time for everyone to meet. Other than that, we will continue here working on what our next meetings will look like, especially with regards to the review process. I'll be sending around another one of those SurveyMonkey polls to just sort of ask folks what times are best versus what times are just really unacceptable. And if anybody wants to sort of jump ahead in that, if you could send me any blackout dates that are absolutely no good, when you will not be available and there's no chance of scheduling during that time, that would be really, really helpful in making those suggestions.
What time frame are you looking for the next meeting?
So in the next meeting, we're looking for, we want to avoid climate week, obviously, but so we're looking for that early October time so we can set that up with our Office of Climate Change. All right, next slide, please. Does anybody have any questions before we close this one? This is a quick one today. Anybody have any questions before we close things out? All right, well, thank you everyone for jumping on today. I know that it was very quick. If you have any questions or concerns that come up after this meeting, please feel free to reach out to me. And again, if you have any additional, since we can deliberate, if in reading the updated bylaws you have concerns or potential changes or amendments to them, please send those along to me. And I will make sure to send those polls around and get everybody access to the Urban Heat Island study information as soon as possible. All right. Take care, everyone. Thank you. We'll see you all soon.
Thank
Okay,
you.
guys. Bye.